Welcome to another episode of Let's Parlay, where we encourage you to bet on yourself and pursue all that life has in store for you. I'm your host, Monty Taylor. Without further ado, let's parlay. What is up, family? We are at 10 episodes on this season. I don't even know if it's appropriate to call it a season. I'm just going until I hit 30 for this year. And that is what I said I'm going to do. So I'm going to follow through with it. And I take a lot of pride in whatever I say I'm going to do, actually going through with it. I feel like we're in a world where there's a lot of the opposite happening, where people don't necessarily follow through with what they're saying they're going to do. So I just want to lead by example on that front by continuing to give you these episodes once a week. And this episode, I'm deciding to take a different approach. I'm sure that each one of the episodes that I've done thus far has followed a similar theme for you, where usually I start off with a story and I'm sharing a little bit, maybe something funny or just something personal that I've experienced that relates to the topic. And then I'll go into some key points, and some things that I feel like will help structure the conversation from my notes, and some key action steps afterwards. And for episode 10, the fact that I've made it to 10 already is crazy in my mind. But for this one, I just wanted to pause for a second and kind of reflect a little bit and share a little bit more with you about how I'm personally feeling at the moment, about this podcast, about where I'm at in my life personally, and yeah, and just what's on my mind a lot as of recently. I think that that's something that I've had conversations with some friends and family who watch the podcast and who have just given me some suggestions around like being a little bit more open about, my struggles and some of the things that I may be going through that people can resonate with. So I figured that's what we do for this podcast. But before I get into all of that, I just want to start off with a very, very shameless plug. As you can see, I got a fresh hat on. It's a new hat that I got from Malta Apparel, and it's a faith-based clothing apparel brand. And they sent me this hat. Very much appreciate it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to where you can find this hat in the show notes. And there's also a 15% discount. Use code Monty to take 15% off your next purchase. But they got some really clean gear. I love this hat, the fit. It's just definitely my style. I haven't bought clothes in a while. My mom took me shopping for my 30th birthday this year, and that was the first time that I've gotten a long haul of clothes. I can't even remember the last time. Probably at least over a year. Uh, so just wanted to plug that. And then the other thing that I wanted to plug is my Fit and Faith program. I launched that about 2 weeks ago, and it's been going great. I've gotten so many people who have reached out, who are interested in the program, who are interested really in joining a faith-based fitness community. And I didn't realize that there was that big of a need out there. And I'll share a little bit more about that and how that's impacted me and how I'm pivoting a little bit with my coaching. But I just wanted to share that as well too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the show notes an application for anyone who is interested in, taking on a fitness journey with God and doing it with a faith-based coach. I would love to work with you, and I think that there's plenty of opportunity to grow, not only physically, but spiritually and emotionally and mentally through such a program. And yeah, I'm just really excited with the clients that I'm working with already and the people who have gotten in, who have just been like so fired up to make a change in their life. The first week of the program was really, 4th of July. So it was kind of tough for people to, balance being in a new program, new habits, but then also starting that. But it was hard for me too, because I had plenty going on for 4th of July weekend, and we figured it out. But yeah, I wanna gear this episode a little bit more towards vulnerability and how that could be powerful for anyone out there who maybe struggles with it, who keeps a lot to themselves, who is very much guarded with the information that they have at their disposal. And I want to lead by example in this. I want to share and open up just a little bit about what I've been reflecting on recently. And I figured I'd start off with the podcast because this is what you're watching, right? This is what you're currently interested in. So I want to let you know my thoughts on how things have been going and where I'd like them to go in the future and how I'm feeling in the present moment. Um, One, I'll start off with something positive. I'm proud of myself for starting because I have been saying that I was going to start this podcast for the longest, ever since I was on Big Brother. And I had talked about it so much while I was in that house. I just knew that I wanted to start this endeavor. And I think for me, there were plenty of reasons why I was preventing myself from doing it, and there was nobody else responsible but me. But the fact that I decided to go through with it this year and start and not care about it being perfect and learning as I go, I'm just proud of myself for that. With that being said, I also feel like with the podcast, I don't personally feel like I'm giving you guys the best version of myself or what I really envisioned for the podcast as a virtue of just starting kind of, to start. The reason why I feel like that is because one, I personally struggle with this sort of interaction. It's tough for your boy. It's really tough. Sitting here staring at a camera by myself in an empty room that is soundproof, I hope. Uh, it's tough. It's challenging. I don't. I'm not the type of person that likes to talk at people. I don't like to sit here and preach and come off as I'm the expert and you should listen to me. That's not really my style in general. And it's not an imposter syndrome thing, or maybe it is. Maybe there could be some of that going on, but that's just not what I really envisioned with the podcast. However, the reason why I've gone about it this way is because one, I said I was going to do 30 episodes this year. Two, I said I was going to start. Three, for me to have the vision for what I want with the podcast, I would want a two-camera setup, and I would also want to have guests who are here that I'm interviewing. I feel like I would be so much better at asking questions, bouncing off ideas, and talking a little bit more with people. That, if anyone knows me, that is that's my sweet spot. If you have ever had a conversation with me and we were sitting down for more than 10 to 15 minutes, I'm usually the one asking most of the questions because I'm a very curious person. And I enjoy that. I enjoy getting to know people and understanding where people are coming from, whether it be like your family background, how you came to be the person that you are. I'm very curious about. So that is where I feel like my sweet spot is. And I think this podcast has challenged me to do something different because of the limitations of, like, one, getting started and, not knowing who I'd want to interview and not having the second camera yet and not wanting to invest in one, just all sorts of different things. And it's been good. It's been good because one, it's led me to this very moment where I've realized that I think going into these episodes with a little bit less structure and a little bit less to follow gives you a lot better of a version of me than if I'm trying to follow a strict sort of protocol when it comes to my outline. I tend to be a structured person when it comes to, like, my thought process and all of that. I'm maybe not the most organized, but I am structured in the way that I think. So what I would do is I go into these episodes and I would, like, put together, all right, what are the concepts? What are the key points? And try to hit you with like a lesson and stuff. And I'm sure that that's probably been valuable for some. And I'm proud of myself for at least trying and going about it that way and not having the fear of, oh, what if this doesn't look good, and just not caring. Because what I realize is you guys are my market. You're going to speak to me, you're going to tell me, and whoever views this and watches this is going to inform me on what I need to do to change, or if I need to change at all, or whatever have you, by virtue of the growth of the podcast, how many views, etc. And that's just what I've come to learn is that, like, yeah, I think I've been doing it a certain way, but it might be time to switch things up and be a little bit more fluid with the conversation and actually speak to you. I'll just admit right now, I am 10 times more comfortable than I have been before, where I was looking through something to talk about and just kind of letting it flow. And I think that you're getting the best and most authentic version of me by me not having so much of a script. So that's just something that I've learned in recording these podcasts. And that's a direction that I'm going to shift towards now is not having so much of an outline, not having so much of a structure, and just speaking to you mostly from the heart with some sort of idea of what I'm going to talk about. And I'm not just going to come up here and rant, but if I'm ranting, then maybe you like hearing that better. We'll see. So, those are my thoughts on the podcast. Obviously, I wish I could be promoting it more. I wish I could be doing more stuff with like dropping clips and social media. But I've just been up to here with stuff that I need to do when it comes to coaching, when it comes to, um, yeah, just really business related things, especially ever since I launched the Fit and Faith program. And that's another part of my update that I'd like to share as well too, is that um, the launch of the program has gone great. It's gone better than I could have expected, and I realize that this is a gap in the marketplace right now is people who are of faith, who are believers, are looking for community. And a lot of believers out there, it sounds like, are just feeling like they're on an island wherever they are. I have clients in Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, um, New York, all over the place, California, Los Angeles to be specific, Arizona. And it seems like everybody has a bit of a lonely feeling right now. And I didn't really know that. I thought that everybody, not everybody, but I thought that most people who are of faith had some sort of community to tap into locally at a church or whatever, but it seems like there's a lot of people craving community and a lot of people craving um, just connection with others who are like-minded, who also want to improve on their fitness. And um, I've just realized with the Fit and Faith program that there's a lot more demand out there for something like this. And that's caused me to adapt as a person and as a business owner. I've realized that I cannot do this by myself, that I'm going to need some help. And I've been getting some help, and I'm super thankful for that. But that's caused a lot of shift in what I'd normally do. Everything that I was doing before was all on me. So I would, post and send messages and do the sales calls, do all sorts of everything, just everything that requires me to, find a client, work with a client, and actually deliver a program to them. And yeah, I'm just at that point where I realize that if I keep doing that, I'm not going to have any time for anything, especially with more and more clients who are interested in the program. But the other thing I realize is I think this, when you look at life, when I look at life, I should say, I take a second to think about, all right, if I were the main character in my movie and the writer is writing my story, what is the writer trying to convey right now to the audience about me, the main character? And talk about main character energy. But what I'm trying to say is that I really feel that's how God sees things. I truly believe that everything God does is for my good. Everything that I'm presented with, whether it be a challenge, whether it be an opportunity to grow, whether it be more resources financially or material possessions, whatever it is, I personally believe that God is doing it for a reason. And I think it's sad if you don't feel that way, because I think you might be missing out on a lot of opportunities to learn something and apply the right perspective to graduate to the next thing. And I feel like that's where I'm at in this point in my life is I feel like I'm graduating from being a solopreneur, a solo entrepreneur, and going into being more of a business owner, being more in the managerial, more in the creative and innovative space of my business where I work on the vision and, the brand and who I'm speaking to versus all of the tasks that come along with uh, conducting business and doing it to the best of the ability that I can. That's just what I've realized. And that's what I believe is happening right now. Um, Honestly, if it were up to me, I would have maybe done this by myself and continued to get whatever results that I would get. But after launching this program, it's almost like I've been forced to do this. And whenever that's happening, I just feel like that's God moving and moving me personally in a certain direction. So that's what's been on my heart a lot recently. And whenever I talk to family or talk to friends, I personally just don't have anything else to talk about but work because I'm not doing anything else at the moment, to be honest with you. I don't get me wrong, I spend my time with my friends. I work out with buddies here in Austin. I I connect with friends from across the country and I do those things, don't get me wrong. And it's not always about business, but as far as what's on my heart, a lot more these days, it's just continuing to figure out this puzzle of how do I put the pieces together to make this a clear picture and a clear vision for what I'm moving forward with that I can share with people that I'm going to hire, that I'm going to, contract out to do work with the program. So it's been taking a lot of my time, and I don't think I've had too much time to really relax. And if I do, it tends to be, more of a numbing effect to get my mind off of business. And it might be scrolling on social media or hopping on YouTube. But if it ain't that, then I tend to be working or talking to family or working out, and my life is very simple. And for right now, that's all right. And I'm sure that there's going to be a phase where that changes, but I just wanted to share where I'm at with you all. And I feel like it's definitely different. It's something that I always kind of made fun of, like, yo, these people are crazy for working this much and doing all of that. But I've come to realize that if you are very intentional about where you're going and if your baby requires you to act, if you're a parent and you have a child, for my parents out there who understand this, or even if you have had a parent like this, you know that that dynamic where your child needs help or attention or support in any sort of way, you jump right on it because you made that. You brought that baby into this world, um, and I've definitely felt that from my parents as well too. And that's kind of how I feel about this program, and it's just something that I've had to come to accept. And it kind of leads me into my next topic, which is something else that I've been personally struggling with, which is this feeling of really wanting to settle down romantically, which I can't believe that I'm sharing this on this podcast, right? I mean, the whole theme of this is, betting on yourself, but um, I've often found throughout my adult years that I have been searching for a relationship with someone, with a woman um, who understands me, who understands my vision, who is aligned with it, and has common interest and is wanting to work towards the same goals together. And I think more recently, especially after turning 30, I don't. I think there's some external pressure, and it's not even that much, but there's definitely a lot more of an internal pressure that I've been putting on myself to want to find the one and find someone to settle down with. And it's never been like that in any period of my life. I think I would act like that, like I would go along with relationships, but I wasn't actively seeking them. They kind of happened because, either I was given an ultimatum or whatever the case may be. That was just in full transparency how I was operating. Just very young and not like being a leader. I was just following whatever I felt was presented to me and kind of people pleasing. And I feel like now I'm at a point where I want to lead. I want to show a woman that I'm interested in her, and I want to show her how much I appreciate her. And I also um, want to ask questions that actually matter. I don't want to talk about fluff and things that aren't going to actually move the needle forward for me to feel more comfortable getting down on bended knee and proposing to someone. Because to me, when I think about how I've responded to, my business needing attention and um, how I've like kind of zeroed in on that, I do see some of those qualities shifting over to fatherhood for me. And I've always said that I look forward to being a father one day. Yeah, I ain't in no rush. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to just lay with anyone. Like I want to do it the right way. But I do sort of long for it a bit because I just know my character and my nature, and I'd really relish at the opportunity to um, raise a healthy, strong, um, independent young adult, and someone who's going to contribute to the world. So I've felt that same parallel with my business of how I would treat that with how I know I would treat my family and my kids. And it's made me want that even more. Not to mention, too, I think about my parents and I think about how we're all getting older and how one, they've, um, they've, they've done so much to make me into the man that I am today. And it just feels like such a, yeah, it feels like such a worthwhile thing to reward them with for being such great parents to me. And there is a little bit of a strong desire to see them as grandparents. And, they've never put much pressure on me. They may mention it here and there, right? Mostly my dad, all right? But it's all in good fun. And I love you, Dad. But they've mentioned it here and there, but I think it's more internal. It's not something that I feel a pressure from them on. I actually feel like more of it coming from myself and wanting to make them proud, but also wanting to see them um, as grandparents and what they would be like as grandparents, because I know that they would be great and that they're going to be great. So, yeah, there's been a lot of that kind of happening internally. And um, I will say that I'm proud of myself for the way that I'm dating nowadays. I have definitely taken my time a lot more with getting to know people. Before I was walking in my faith walk, I would go out and just rush things, whether it be with intimacy, whether it be with like love bombing, and just never really asking the right questions. And I feel like now that I know a lot more about myself and where I want to go, I ask questions that are a lot more aligned with what actually matters. And I think that just comes with maturing as a man and stepping out of boyhood. So I'm proud of myself for taking that approach with dating, but I do still feel like a little bit of that yearning for it that I can't really grapple with at times. When I see someone attractive who works out and maybe has similar interests, like my mind immediately scrambles. And most guys that I talk to, whether they be men of faith or whether they be guys who are secular, atheist, we all kind of have the natural wiring to do that. However, that is something that I just feel like I'm praying a lot more about and want to pray a lot more about is God giving me the strength to receive whomever it is that is supposed to come into my life and be my wife, right? So that is something that I just something that I found very interesting that I've never experienced in my life before was more of that longing for that. And I think that's just maturing into the man that I'm supposed to be. Um, but with that being said, I will say outside of those things that I've mentioned, I can't really complain about much else in life. And I'm not complaining at all. I'm just kind of sharing with you what's been on my heart. I'm really proud of my faith walk and what I've been able to do for myself when it comes to like my purity and um, also with my intentions and how I'm treating my body, how I'm catering and investing towards the relationships with family and friends, how I'm being a steward of my finances. There's just so many things that I've been really leaning into what God says is the right way to go about things that have yielded so many positive results in other areas of my life. So I am proud of myself for that. I'm proud of myself for taking on my habits. I've read 12 books this year. That was my goal for the year, and I've already read 12, and we're in July. So um, I personally just feel like my life is very simple, and the things that I care about are very reasonable things to care about, but I'm just no longer concerned with things that don't align with where my vision is anymore. And um, I just I just wanted to share that with you folks because I feel like I come on here and I talk a lot about what you should do and listen to me. Here's a topic that you should dive into, but just felt like today, especially with it being the 10th episode, a third of the way through my goal, I'll just check in with you. And maybe I'll do it at episode 20 again, or maybe this will just be how I go about it from here on out. But I just appreciate you all for tuning in and listening. And hopefully, this just gives you a little bit of freedom to be vulnerable and reflect on your own time, and maybe with someone that you trust and that you care about to allow yourself to get whatever it is out. I do not think a lot of us spend enough time doing this, just processing, thinking, and reflecting on what it is that you're feeling right now and the emotions and whether they be good, bad. I just want to encourage you to do that for yourself. And I think you're going to really thank yourself. I'm thanking myself for doing this with you already because I feel a lot better about it. Um, but I just encourage you to do that and to take that step in faith in being vulnerable with whomever it is you care about and whomever it is that you love. Okay. So I'm going to end this episode here. That is all that I got for today. I just wanted to open up and hopefully you feel more comfortable in being vulnerable and just sharing whatever it is that's on your heart. But that's it for me, guys. I hope that this resonated with you. And as always, I appreciate you for tuning in. Hope you've been encouraged to bet on yourself and pursue all that life has in store for you. I'm your host, Monty Taylor. Without further ado, episode 10 wrapped. God bless. Have a good one.